Welcome back to Dev Good Book Reviews and to the series that everyone always asks me to continue, but that nobody watches. I am of course talking about Animorphs. I am a completionist at heart, so of course I'm continuing on with Book 9, The Secret. If you would like to catch up with this series, you can do so. I have a dedicated playlist that I will link either below or in a doobly-doo. No place to run, no place to hide. I don't know if this is the least troublesome cover so far because I love Cassie so much, or if it's because I was raised in the internet era of Doge memes. No, not that Doge. So seeing a half-human, half-canine morph just isn't that weird to me. Chapter 1. After bringing us back up to speed with the events of books 1 to 8, I'm going to assume that you've gone back and watched all those videos, or that you've read the books themselves, so you don't need me to tell you all of that. We open with Cassie and Rachel in the science lab at the end of a school day. Cassie is doing her high school science project of getting a rat to run through a maze. When I was in secondary school, we roasted marshmallows over a Bunsen burner that we weren't allowed to eat. It would be much easier to morph into a rat and see what's going on in the maze, but that would break Jake's rule of no morphing unless it's absolutely essential. I really hate Jake, he makes unnecessary rules. They decide that getting a decent grade in science is necessary, which I don't disagree with, but Cassie says that Rachel has to morph as well, morph with her, which I think is a terrible idea. But morph they do. The two intrepid rat girls quest their way from the floor of the science lab into the maze, and they solve the mystery of why the rat could not smell the nuts. Was under the fan the whole time. I was feeling pretty satisfied with my insight when two things happened at once. First, Courtney, the real Courtney. Courtney is the rat, by the way, came zooming around the corner of the maze. The second thing that I heard, a loud crash, a roar of loud laughter, and the rushing approach of footsteps. Who else had "they get caught by another person while in morph" on their bingo card? Because cross that off now. It's some teenage boys looking for trouble deciding to kill the rats. I'd say that level of aggression is far-fetched, but we've all known teenage boys, so... The girls escape, but the original rat Courtney is still stuck in the maze, in danger of being attacked by adolescent boys with brooms. So Rachel and Cassie decide to kick some butt. I mean that kind of literally, they run up their trouser legs. The rats win, because of course they do, and it's all in a day's work for the only two competent Animorphs, Rachel and Cassie. The Animorphs meet up again, this time in the animal rescue barn, as they always do, presumably to impart upon us the plot of this book. Rachel and I are best friends, but we are very different people. If you just saw Rachel walking by, you'd probably think typical airhead mole crawler. If you took a closer look, you'd start to think, no, she's actually very beautiful. Not typical at all. No, Judith, do not ship it. Do not. Because Jake and Marco came through the small side door of the barn. Jake was in the lead, as usual. If we Animorphs have a leader, it's Jake. He's strong, inside and out, and really good looking, also inside and out. I mean, he's just an amazingly cool guy. No. After introducing us to the rest of the group, by which I mean Marco the Jester and Tobias the Hawk Boy, we learn that Axe, the alien boy, is starting to get a bit concerned about staying in the woods because there's some people wanting to do some logging there. Not too weird a concept, some people wanting to tear down a forest for profit, but the building is protected by a force field that seems to stop anything that gets near. I tried to fly closer and it was like hitting a wall. Also, there are armed guards walking the perimeter around the building and patrolling up and down the access road. The Yeerks are there, and they aren't just out to destroy any animal habitat, they want to kill the Animorphs. So the Yeerks, despite much evidence to the contrary, still think that the Animorphs are Andalites. And the best place for them to hide would be the forest, which it actually is. That's where they have hidden the only Andalite. So their plan is to destroy it and find them. Other than their initial flawed premise, it's still a better plan than every single plan the Animorphs have made. Marco and Cassie get paired up for reasons. They morph into their wolf form because it'll be faster, and into the forest they run. They have a fun time in the woods until Tobias, literally the only sensible member of the group at all, reminds them that actually they are on a mission at the moment. They sniff something that their wolf brains don't recognise, which could mean there are hawk bajir nearby. Blinding light, light everywhere, everywhere, the whole world was brilliant white. I felt like the whole universe could see me. Blam, 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 the sound of sharp cracking explosions in the trees above us. I glanced up. Something falling. A net! Big steel nets were exploding from the trees above us, falling towards us. There were heavy weights at the edges. Gosh, could it have been a trap? Cassie escapes the net and almost gets away, but she has to turn back because Marco's managed to get himself stuck. It looks as though all is lost, but Axe manages to leg it out of the woods and save them at the last moment. There's some debate now as to whether they should only care about the forest because Axe and Tobias live there, or if they should care about all the animals. I'll leave you to decide where Cassie and Marco fall on either side of those debates. But it is time to craft an ingenious scheme. But actually, the scheme that Cassie proposes, which is checking to see if they have the proper permits for logging, is not the worst one they've ever had. So they realise that they're going to need to find out who the Yeerks are asking for permission to log in this part of the forest, so it's time to sneak in to this Yeerk Forest HQ. So of course, it's now morphing time. If on your Animorphs bingo card you have, it's time to morph small, Then cross that off now. Cassie gets home, only to run into her dad, who says they have to go off and rescue a skunk that's been injured. Turns out the skunk has been injured by a Draken beam, which makes Cassie very sad, because remember, she loves nature. And what's worse, the skunk has babies, and they're out there in the woods somewhere, lost. Chapter 8, and those with "they go to the mall" on their bingo cards can cross that one off. It would seem like winner of small animal to turn into this time is not ants, because that was deeply stressful for everyone, and we learned our lesson with ants. Time to go for termites. Cassie is deeply scared of turning into a termite, but they've got to do it for the good of the forest. They decide to morph into owls to get close, which makes sense. It would be quite a long walk as a termite. So they fly there. Tobias says goodbye. He's not going to be much use because apparently he's basically useless at night. Can relate. They fly as close as they can, and now it's termite time. Side note, Cassie thinks she's discovered where the skunk kits are, but she can't really do anything about that now because it's termite time. How to get close enough to morph termite without being seen. Jake draws the short straw. It's his job to lure the Yeerks away from HQ so the others can morph and sneak in. In this book, they've explained time and time again that the first time you morph, it's more difficult because you have to get used to the animal instincts, and if you're used to morphing a particular animal, it gets much easier. Why don't they practice? They managed to sneak under the force field, and I felt no fear. I clambered up from the dirt into the tunnel opening. Familiar smells. Smells I knew. Home. Home. My place. Where I was from and where I belonged. I smelled the other soldiers with my antennae. They touched me with their antennae as I did to them. We were of the colony. The colony. The claw. While they are taken over by termite instincts, we learn a lot about termites, which I won't go into here, largely because I find large groups of bugs terrifying, but Cassie manages to vaguely wrench her mind free of this termite hive mind control and rip the head off the queen termite. After that, she has a bit of a panic attack and demorphs inside a piece of wood. Deeply, deeply stressful for everyone involved. This has evidently caused or triggered some intense trauma in Cassie, which I don't want to get into here because I don't want to trivialize it in the context of this video. Dapson Lumber Company, Axe said. That's what the Yeerks call this logging company. Very funny. What's funny? Marco asked. Dapson. It's a Yeerkish word that means, well, never mind what it means. It isn't polite, just some Yeerk swear words for you. So some man named Farron needs to come and inspect and decide whether they get to do the logging or not. At which point they will probably turn him into a controller. Quickly, Axe does a hack that means he'll be allowed to access the Yeerk control computer from the computer at Marco's house. Axe manages to turn off the outer defences and they all escape in wolf form, feeling more than a little bit shaken up. Late that night, Cassie muses about how basically all of nature is at war. In my world, I too was prey. The Yeerks were hunting me. I was scared. I was alone. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. Tobias flags her down the next day. I stopped walking. It was something in the way he said weirded out. Tobias, who else did you talk to? Maybe Marco, he said? And Marco told you I went nuts, right? Actually, the word he used was insane, also Looney Tunes and wacko. He meant it all in the nicest possible way. Delightful approach to mental health. Tobias tells Cassie he actually knows where the skunk kits are, or at least the ones that are still alive, because the reason Tobias knows it's a horrible thought, I don't want to go into it too much. He tells her there are still 4 of them alive, so the 2 of them fly off to save them. Cassie finds the skunks and morphs into their mother so they can bond to their mother in the wild, but then she falls asleep and thank goodness Tobias is there because he goes to get Jake, who wakes her up. He was a long way from forgiving me. This is not why we have this ability. We are not trying to save every lost skunk in the world, Jake ranted. We are an army. A small, weak, pathetic, outnumbered army. We have exactly 6 members. Tobias has already been trapped in morph, but he was trapped fighting the Yeerks. I can't believe you would nearly get yourself trapped into morph over some skunks. Jake is an asshole. But apparently they work it out and Cassie's going to stay and look after the skunks and they're going to do it in shifts and Tobias is going to keep watch to make sure that Cassie doesn't get skunkified forever. Marco welcomes Cassie to the We've All Gone Crazy Because of the Deep Trauma club. Now we're only on book 9. How much more trauma will there be? Cassie's taking her newfound skunk babies on a little walk through the woods when they get attacked by a dog, but it's okay because she sprays the dog and gets him to run away. But it's okay, it's Jake's dog. Jake turns up, it's all sorted, she sprays the dog as a skunk. It's all wonderfully fine, but it's not fine because it turns out that guy Farron, he's changed his schedule a little bit. He's going to be there in an hour, but that doesn't matter because Tobias turns up. The Yeerks have already started logging. Jake rubbed his hands together. Okay then, we snatch this Farron guy as soon as he shows up. In the meantime, we have to slow down those tree-cutting machines. Rather than focus on the matter at hand, Cassie and Tobias get into the ethics of Tobias hunting for live food. Is it more or less moral for Tobias to eat the frozen animals that they can bring him? They follow the jeep that's bringing this guy Farron in and who should be in it, but you guessed it, it's Visser 3. If you had Visser 3 shows up on your bingo cards, cross that off. Has anyone got bingo yet? The Animorphs attack Visser 3 before they can get Farron, but Cassie gets a bullet through the wing and everything goes black. Cassie's been taken by Visser 3, but she needs to demorph soon or she's going to be stuck in morph. But if she demorphs, then Visser 3 is going to know that they're humans and not Andalite. Thankfully, there's enough space in the box for Cassie to morph back to human in front of this Farrand guy and then morph into skunk form. Then she thought speaks with Visser 3 and says she's going to kill Farrand, who the Yeerks need alive. And then she skunk sprays Visser 3, because of course she does, because she's Cassie and she's the best. They ran, the human controllers, the Hawk-Bajir and Visser 3, they ran from the horror of my skunk smell. I think this probably would have been one of my favourite books if I'd read these as a teenager. They negotiate for the return of Farrand, because basically they can't turn Farrand into a controller because Farrand knows that they are human. Important note. So they negotiate the return of Farrand by saying they will tell Visser 3 how to get the skunk smell out of his spaceship. You do realise that one day I will have you all, Visser 3 said. Woof. With all your clever tricks, I will still find you. No, I do not think so, Axe said. We are sure to smell you coming. Chapter 21. Return to the woods and the reunion of the skunk mum and her skunk babies. And the news that Farrand has gone back to his superiors and said, no, these people kidnapped me. It was very odd. No logging for them. But it wouldn't be an Animorphs book without big ethical statements at the last moment. Okay, just tell me this. Am I a part of nature, so I should just live by the laws of nature, kill to eat, kill or be killed? Or am I something different because I'm human? Leave that statement floating. But we end on a high note. Tobias has gone to check on the progress of cleaning the blade ship, and the good news is they've taken Tobias's advice and they've covered both the blade ship and Visser 3 in grape juice to try and get rid of the smell. However, what they may have neglected to tell them is that it's not actually grape juice that gets out skunk smell, it's tomato juice. The book ends with this mental image of a purple Visser 3 walking around. I mean, who doesn't love it? That is book 9 of the Animorphs saga that we have gone through. Thank you for joining me. We have kind of tipped the line from humour to trauma. And we've done it at book 9, so I don't know how we're going to be at book 50, but as I say, at this rate, I will be at book 50 when I am 30. So, hi me from the future, how we doing? I would love to keep making these videos. In order to make me keep making them, to be motivated to make them, you can like this video, you can comment below saying that you've enjoyed it. You can also, while you're down there, you can follow me on all of my social media so that you can tweet at me and beg me to film more of this series. You can also subscribe, it makes me feel loved and appreciated. That is all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. If you would like to carry on... They draw straws, Jake draws the short straw, and it's his job to lure the Yeerks... Jake draws the short straw, and it's his job to lure the Yeerks... I can't say it.